Please, I don't need you to explain. Just look within. Don't be afraid. I've been there too and made mistakes, but I know you're stronger than you think. Now that you're on your way, wherever you walk, you radiate, and you create the destiny that you've been dreaming of. Everything you've been through has led you to this moment. Focus and present, let your spirit guide you. Whatever mess you're in, whatever mess you're in, the demons you've been fighting, whatever mess you're in, whatever mess you're in, the demons you've been fighting. Just look within, don't be afraid. Just look within, don't be afraid. All my heroes, let me hear you. All my heroes, let me hear you.
Ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to the Monday Discourse for today, October 5th, 2020. Hi, my name is Tristan Johnson, and I'm the host of the YouTube channel Step Back History, and Tristan Won't Shut Up. My streaming schedule, for anyone who's curious, is I do the Monday Discourse here from noon to 2 Eastern Time. And on this show, I get my guest, Mia Mulder, to come on, and she'll be here in a second. And then we talk about stuff going on, stuff that's going on the internet, which there has been a lot this week, obviously. I think that we've got quite a lot to talk about this week. Second, we've got Step Back Tonight, which is a show I do on Tuesday nights, which is a show that runs from 7 to 10 on Tuesdays. And that's more of a chill, laid-back stream where I hang out with people and talk about stuff. And then on Fridays, I have The Reactor, which is, it goes from 2 to 5, and it's a stream I do where I have people on, what's it called? People send me links and I do them. People saying that I need to update the title. It should be fixed. I already did it. If you refreshed, you should see that the title is already fixed. Yeah, I forgot to set up the stream today because I was really busy working yesterday. So, I don't know, something goofed, and I didn't have my task to prep for the stream go off like it was supposed to, so I forgot to set it up because, as you'll quickly learn if you ever have ADHD, which is that small things that you just need to remember to do, like, set up a stream for the metadata that you want before the stream goes live, is a thing that if you don't explicitly have a thing telling you to do it, you won't do it. And that's why I'm a failure at most things, unless I have digital aid. So that's the thing. I'm also taking a little bit of a brief vacation from lo-fi hip-hop and trying my hand at synthwave, because I've been obsessed with synthwave lately. Okay, I'm just trying to do like a quick look through my streaming folder to see if like I accidentally deleted the task or something weird like that. Nope, there it is, right there. I just didn't. I must have clicked it saying I did it, but I didn't do it. Cool. I like that. That's cool and good. I go by he/him pronouns. My work can be found at stepbackhistory.com or tristanwon'tshutup.com or tristanpej on Twitter. If you are on Twitch right now and you have Amazon Prime, I highly recommend that you give a try to take your free Twitch Prime subscription that you get with Amazon Prime and use it to help an independent Twitch creator. I don't care which one it is. If it is mine, I'll be very grateful, but just so that, that money isn't just staying in the pockets of big Amazon and is actually being used for something to help small creatives like myself thrive and, pay our bills and stuff. My latest video on Tristan Won't Shut Up was about planned economies. I have another one in the works. Hopefully it should be coming out sometime this week, if not soonish. So that's a thing. So look forward to that. And then but my last video was on planned economies. My next one's supposed to be on the posting wars. That's what I'm trying to, what's it called? That's what I'm trying to do it on. It's going to be a little confusing because it started off as like what I thought would be one video, but then it's going to be multiple videos talking about sort of the weird world of social media bots and social media influencing for the sake of elections and things like that. And I've got a follow-up to the planned economy video, too, that I need to talk about, which is came from some comments on the video that have to do with markets, competition, and specifically the act of innovating and creativity. So there's that. And my previous Step Back video was on Emma Goldman. Very good video. Hope you guys really like that one. And my next video from Step Back is going to be a sequel to Dinesh D'Souza Infinity War. So that's gonna be fun. That'll be right joy. Okay, now I'm going to. You guys have seen just me long enough. It's time to get me on the horn. So let's see what she's up to. She's so patient while I just like ramble on at the beginning. It is going to be called Dinesh D'Souza Endgame. Hello!
I heard Dinesh D'Souza and I immediately got scared.
My next video is going to be titled Dinesh D'Souza Endgame. As you know, you're canonically dead in the Step Back cinematic universe, and so we need to get you back.
I've been dead so long. I need someone. I need the Step Back History cinematic universe version of the Hulk to bring me back.
That's the next thing. I only have vague ideas. I'm spending my Tuesday being like, okay, how do I actually pay off all of the bullshit I set up?
That's the problem of doing like a parted video series thing, because you never know how the fuck you're gonna like top the first one, and, like connect everything, because it's a new video and it doesn't work.
Yeah, and I have to talk, and it's going to be a video about history and the importance of history and why history has never been an objective field and is always a battlefield for politics, and why the right is winning it. So that's going to be fun.
Amazing.
It's going to make me really popular, because if you know, there's one thing about people who don't study history but think they like history, is talking about how history is actually a subjective field of writing.
Oh yeah, it's not a real science, obviously. It's a fake science. People just write their opinions. It's not real. It's just feelings.
Yeah. So I can't wait to see how people take to talking about history being relative and that narrative is important and all sorts of stuff that is like, no, history is just a series of facts attached to time periods that are before this time. Which will be fun.
That's it. That's all of it. You solved it.
So anyways, before we get in too deep, we have to say, who is this person that we are talking to right now?
Good question. I ask myself that every single week. I am Mia Mulder. I am the creator of the channel Mia Mulder. I make Mia Mulder content. I also Twitch stream on twitch.tv/Mia Mulder. And on Twitter, I post random crap on potato politics, because I didn't do branding back then when I got a Twitter account, and I haven't got a new one, which I probably should. I make lefty history videos. Usually, I make video essays about stuff that I want to do. And I have a history degree, so sometimes they're about history. Most often they're not, but theoretically they are.
Now, speaking of you making videos, between the last time you were on the stream and now, you made one.
Yes, I made one. It came out on Friday, I think.
Yeah, we watched it live on the Reactor, so...
Yeah, I was busy. I wanted to come on, but unfortunately I was too busy.
We got some wonderful comments. Somebody was talking about how like the whole setup that it was basically like POV of your mirror thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
everyone was
That's,
like, that was very voyeuristic and intimate, and I was like, oh boy.
yeah, that was kind of part of it. I sort of wanted. I sort of wanted the sort of background imagery to sort of represent the idea of a transition, because usually it's just, let's say, before and after picture,
Yeah.
but it's actually this like long, weird, bored part that where nothing really like happens for a long time, and things might look good in the end, but there's like this massive part in the middle where things are blurry and things are like things are messy and things. I liked it. I thought it was work. Also, turns out you don't have to do as much work when you record audio and video completely separately, and you don't have to sync them up. Life hack.
Pro life hack here. I thought that was really good, and also is because like part of like the kind of thesis at the end is that, as you were saying, that like transitioning, like once you've like matured into it a little bit, feels kind of like almost like a weight, and sort of
Yeah.
like the fact that it took like, you know, that long to just like put on all the stuff, like sort of like plays into that, because the longer it goes, the more you sort of feel that like, holy crap, it takes this long to get everything done. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, the idea is that it's like everything feels that it's all, that there's a lot of stuff that you don't see, and that it all sort of accumulates over time with diminishing returns. I'm very happy about it. I think it's one of my best work, honestly. At least of this year. I like it. I'm
Pretty
very happy
good.
about it.
And then
Go
also,
watch it, please do. It's doing okay in the analytics, so please watch it so it goes even better than okay.
And other than that, we've had quite a hell of a week. We're on President Death Watch.
President Death Watch. Welcome to Death Watch 2020. Is he dead yet?
We had a week.
Probably not.
We had a week where, like, okay, we had a week where we went from a debate where just like the Proud Boys were just like called to just like rally.
Yeah, that was wild.
To a
stand back and stand by, which is like, hang on.
Yeah, to a New
What?
York. Yeah, instantly to a New York Times piece about how Trump is a billionaire and pays taxes like one. And which came
Was that this week?
yeah. To the surprise,
We're
of
living in
some-
a time dilation space right now. We're living like close to a black hole, because that feels like that happened like a month ago.
Oh yeah, then Melania Trump said she hated Christmas.
Yes, which is very funny.
Honestly, that wins me some points, but okay.
Christmas is fake anyway.
Yeah, so then there's those things. Then Trump, then possibly one of the most funny things in American history happened, where Trump got COVID, and now, like a fucking like dying Soviet dictator, he's like going to these extreme lengths to show to everybody just how not dying he is, while
Yes.
like every time they say something, like 6 anonymous sources point out, no, he's actually like in really bad shape.
Actually, like, his oxygen levels are like really bad. He's like given, because famously, if you're doing great, they give you antiviral cocktails of steroids
Yeah, you know
and
that
put
if
you on ventilators. That's how you do when you're doing great.
yeah, when you're having a very good day and you're handling COVID very well, they give you 3 like experimental medicines, and a steroid that is so powerful that it's only really used in cases where somebody's lungs are basically falling apart, because
Yo.
they're basically trying to stop a cytokine storm. So, you know, all of that stuff is basically great.
It's amazing.
And then they're talking about how he's going to get released today, and I'd love to see what they're going to do about that. Fascinating. What a beautiful
What a
combination
wonderful
of things.
year we're having. But wouldn't it be the perfect like redemption final episode, redemption episode for like 2020.
Yeah.
That like in November, like November 2nd or some shit like that, he just logs out of Minecraft.
The only thing I can also think of too, and this is an interesting one, because like maybe Trump won't die. He has like a 75% chance of not dying given the condition he's
Yeah,
in.
he'll probably make it.
But the chances that the strong man, the one man who plays himself as like strongman dictator, might be like bound into a wheelchair and have to breathe from an oxygen tank for the rest of his life because his lungs are like permanently scarred from having COVID, will be an interesting thing to see how he tries to hide that.
Yeah.
So it's a whole thing. We'll see what happens. But like, he could fucking die. He could.
It's a real possibility, yeah.
He's not super healthy, and he's old, and these are the kinds of things that all combined together make it very dangerous for him to have this virus.
Yeah. Just the fact on his like extremely weird Twitter patterns recently, it's also kind of clear that he is not the one tweeting.
Well, the thing
like on occasion it is, but like sometimes it's like, we have to stand together against the coronavirus. Hope not, something like, and it's like, it's weirdly articulate. It's not all in all caps. He's
Complete
using
sentences.
the word coronavirus instead of like the China virus. So it's like,
he's finishing his sentences. But you can tell it's an aide who like is trying to sound like Trump, so he like uses like random all capital letters and stuff like that. But then, so I found out that the steroid that he's put on makes people have like these really weird manic episodes. And so Trump this morning at like something like 7 a.m. blasted like a huge list of these completely incomprehensible all caps tweets that are just like Space Force vote, pro-life vote, 401k vote, and someone's like, you know what? This is the first time in days that I actually believe that Trump had his Twitter back.
yes. It's also interesting that we live in such a world now where Trump getting sick with COVID, the news of that breaking, and everyone is just like, is he though? Like, because we're just so used to the constant lies coming out of the White House. And the only time when we all started realizing that, oh no, it's true, is when when everything just became even more embarrassing for him. And it's like, okay, well, he wouldn't let this happen. If he wanted to fake COVID, he wouldn't let it become such a shit show.
Mm-hmm. And then, on top of all that, one of my favorite things was that one of the things that happened over the weekend, I guess in the U.S., is that this is like history rhyming in the most beautiful way imaginable. The death of Stalin got added to American Netflix.
Oh, so now America can see the death of Stalin.
So a bunch of people were watching the death of Stalin this weekend while they were watching all these really weird attempts to make these things saying about how not dying Trump is, like 2 pictures on 2 different days saying, look how well he's doing, but then like metadata showing that those pictures were taken within 10 minutes of each other.
Yeah.
And one of the pictures
he's
is him
signing
signing
like blank paper with big Sharpie.
Yeah. And so it's like, oh, this is great. This is going great. Things are doing wonderful.
We are... I know a lot of people want to compare the current America with the fall of the Roman Empire, but it's clearly the fall of the Soviet Union that is the parallel here. The Cold War is finally starting to end with both sides losing.
It's true. Like, very much, like, you can see, like, moving from Trump to Gorbachev, or Trump to Biden, to, like, these lists of, like, really, like, hardline neoliberal, like, between hardline neoliberalism and authoritarian psychopaths. And it's like, oh yeah, it's like how the Soviet Union got really inflexible and really broken in, like, the 1970s. That basically led to its long decline. And it's like, oh yeah. And then the fact that people were kind of mocking that there was something very Soviet about this moment, and I was like, no, I actually buy it. Like, this is the kind of shit they did when, like, the what's it called? The premier was, like, sick and dying, and, like, they would just put pictures that are like, he's fine.
He's perfectly fine. The general secretary, there's nothing wrong with the general secretary. He's strong, he's healthy, healthier than he's ever been. He's just skiing somewhere.
Yeah.
And then like a week later, it's like, we have a new guy. Don't think about it.
I think a lot about like how people were talking about how Mike Pence is going to have to get tested, and like Nancy Pelosi is going to have to get tested, and then I'm thinking of that moment in Soviet history where they went through 3 leaders in 3 years, and it's like, ah, yes. Oh, things are going great. Things are going great.
America has such a healthy democracy right now. It's going great for them.
You're doing great, honey.
You're doing great, honey. You're living. For now.
Yeah, I think the best, and I think, so as a historian, I think I have found the best thing to talk about, or the best way to describe it, which is somebody saying, watch this moment and observe your feelings. We may be witnessing soon the funniest moment in American history.
Yes.
Which is the person going around saying how it's fine that people die from coronavirus and that this pandemic's happening, and downplaying it for political gain. To
only weak people die from COVID anyway, obviously.
Yeah, to a week before the election, that person catching it and dying. Like, that is fucking chef's kiss.
The cosmic events the potential is great, although I don't think it will happen. Like, if we're being realistic, it's probably going to be fine. Unfortunately.
I refuse to be that pessimistic.
That's a wonderful way to phrase it.
Listen, Kelly has been like giving me shit for getting my hopes up about stuff lately, and I'm just like, you know what? Getting your hopes up about something is literally the only sense of joy that people can have right now. So
it's all that keeps us going in this truly onslaught of a year.
This grim, dark universe we live in.
Grim, dark.
I was thinking about
our grim, dark universe. Yeah.
I was thinking about, I was watching, so I'm watching Star Trek Discovery with Kelly right now. And one of the things I'm thinking is, I think we live in the mirror universe. We are the mirror universe. That's my suspicion.
I mean, if there's one universe where the Terran Empire comes along, it's ours. Right? So, like, I don't see the Federation coming out of the hellhole that is Earth right now. Although I guess not to be overly Trekky, I guess humanity in the Prime Universe also came into the Federation after World War III, after the eugenics wars.
Yeah.
So I mean, to be fair, we're on track to do that. We're on track for the eugenics wars.
I mean, technically the eugenics wars happened in 1996, but they try to not talk about it anymore.
That doesn't matter.
Okay, so I got some questions from the audience, which 20 minutes in we should probably think about talking about.
Yes. We have such a healthy stream every week.
Yeah,
it's
we're
such
doing
a
great.
Good advice podcast where we don't take advice.
We're doing fine, honey. Okay. So suppose somebody worked as a conversation therapist in the past. Suppose they were only going because they were closeted. I don't know what a conversation therapy is. Like a talk therapy, like a psychologist?
Yeah, maybe. Like a therapist, yeah.
Yeah, suppose they were only going to it because they were a closeted LGBTQ plus person externalizing self-loathing. Would that make us more inclined to be forgiving towards them than we would be if they were just a straight person who uncomplicatedly hated homosexuality? Okay, I think that they're talking about conversion therapy. I think it's a typo. Because I do know that there was a Behind the Bastards about conversion therapy that came out this week, so that's in the air again. So...
there's definitely a small slice of like LGBT history where a lot of people, as you say, like don't really understand and can't label their own like emotions and realities around their own identity, and that kind of can externalize itself in sort of depression and anxiety and everything, like all sorts of things, because we live in a society that isn't super accepting of those things, and in many periods of history there haven't like been a sort of easily accessible community to sort of get resources and education from regarding them. But at the same time, like people who do conversion therapy, they have the information available. They know these things. So I feel like they have a sort of responsibility to not be shit, and yet they choose to use that knowledge that they get in order to be shit. That's my hot take.
Yeah. So the way the podcast was structured, first of all, Robert Evans decided to be the guest this week, and the host was like a young gay man who escaped from a Focus on the Family like based cult in Canada and moved to America. And one of the things they were talking about is that in these conversion therapy groups, oftentimes these sort of ex-gay people who ran them or who were participants in it, or, the people who vouched for how it worked, were gay people who basically just like lived in denial or had self-loathing and were struggling emotionally while still pushing this stuff. And that many of them now have like disavowed it, moved off, and have tried to go into a quiet area or try to live a quiet life now out. And so one of the topics that came up during the thing was like, now, like the host, he decided he didn't really want to condemn these people because they were going through shit themselves, and that it was more the like bigoted pastors and stuff like that who ran these camps and who ran these things. Those are the bad guys, and that these people were sort of this mix of victim and victimizer that's a little weird, in that they obviously are feeling fairly horrible for what happened, and they sort of have retreated from public life, and so he was like not interested in like spending a lot of runtime condemning them.
That's a healthy attitude to have, I think, too.
Yeah, and so should we be? And so basically, I think this question is like, should we be more forgiving of people who are in that kind of situation?
I feel like forgiving is also a sort of active act to sort of like. I don't think necessarily that. I mean, personally, I don't think necessarily, of course, forgiving. But I also, as you mentioned, like maybe we shouldn't also dedicate that much time condemning either. Like, it can be one of those things that can be like forgotten but not forgiven sort of thing. Like it's best to sort of just move on from that sort of dark chapter in LGBT history.
Yeah, because in the end, like those therapy those conversion therapy things increase suicide rates by like double. Like it doubles.
Oh yeah.
Doubles the suicide rate on a group of people who have a notoriously high suicide rate because of the way that they're treated. And so like that's next level dark stuff.
Yeah. So like it should definitely be something that should be like banned globally.
Yeah, and of course, another thing that I think was interesting about that podcast that should be no surprise to anybody is that a lot of these groups that like 10, 12 years ago were like really, really like jazzed up about hating gay people, now that it's sort of become less vogue to hate gay people, have shifted gears entirely to hating trans people. And it's like, it's like, fuck.
I mean, you can see like that's very much like black on white in the UK, for example, where like the very same groups have just shifted.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this in the past, that like the way America does and the way that Europe does, it's been weird. Because like in America, it's like transphobia is like just like the people who went from being hyper religious, gay hating people went right to trans people because that was the next group of people that they could be bigoted against. While like Europe's got this weird like somehow like pretending that it's like woke and feminist to hate trans people, and it's like this is like that hasn't which still feels a little alien because like that hasn't crossed the Atlantic in a big way yet. And so
no, and I don't think it really will either, because like I feel like conservatism and like the right wing really has sort of a monopoly on that stuff. But it also hasn't stopped sort of the European and American versions of it for like collaborating and helping each other, even though they claim to be on diametrically opposed political viewpoints.
Yeah,
which just shows that the only thing that they actually care about is hating trans people. So
yeah,
like seeing like leftist turf groups in the UK work with a heritage foundation is like, hang on now.
Yeah, and then
you
like
can't do that.
And on that news, also, Edward Redmayne had his moment last week too.
The Red Man, yeah.
I don't know if he knew what he was talking about. It sounds like he just like waded into shit. It sounds more like he's an idiot than anything else. But for somebody who played a trans woman in a movie, he should probably be a little bit more well read on this shit.
I mean, yeah. I also got the same impression that like he is just not aware of what's happening. He's just seeing. I mean, someone clearly got to him first and was like, "Hey, J.K. Rowling is like fighting with a lot of people on Twitter," and from his perspective, it's like, "Oh well, I know J.K. Rowling, so obviously she's in the right. So I'm just gonna support. And if she's fighting with people on Twitter, well, Twitter's full of trolls, so I'm just gonna be like, well, fuck that, fuck the trolls."
Yeah.
And then just didn't realize like why people have a problem with J.K. Rowling. And yeah, it's like it's obvious that any allyship that he pretended to have is like so surface level, to the point where he's not even basically informed of the things that are even occurring in his own sort of celebrity circle.
Yeah. But you'd think that if he was passionate enough about trans issues to, I don't know, play the lead role in a movie where he plays a important trans person in LGBTQ plus history, that he'd be up to date on these things vaguely.
Yeah, you'd think. But I also think that, I mean, he's also in a very difficult position, isn't he? Because I think, isn't he like contractually obliged to also still be in some more Fantastic Beast movies?
Yeah, he probably has to be a Fantastic Beast.
Yeah, it's like one more movie or two more movies, and it's kind of hard because if he's contractually obliged to do that, which I think he is, it would almost be impossible for him to sort of denounce the author. So that he can't really do that at all. So I feel like maybe he sort of did the safe choice of being like, don't be trolls, guys, and just hope that it goes away.
Oh boy.
But then just stepped in it even further.
Yeah.
He could just have been quiet about it. I don't really know people who were like demanding his opinion on this.
The constant tweet that you can always just not post is sacrosanct. If he had just said nothing, it would have been better than what he did.
Yes. And such is the case with almost anyone.
Yeah. Okay. Next question we got here is: do you know progressive religious people? Progressive religious people often come up with progressive interpretations of their religion's history and doctrine, even if you believe they're wrong to read it that way. Is it... Okay, sorry, the grammar's really weird on this. Is it that way? Is it a bad idea to argue with them about it? Like a lot of atheists, I argue, get really mad at Christians who say the Bible only condemns abusive homosexual relationships, or Muslims who say Aisha wasn't a child. So... Okay, so like this.
You can both argue with them about that. I feel like it's difficult. I think that, like, if it's a bad idea to argue against Christians or like religious people because of like their interpretations of religious texts, because if you believe that they are wrong to do a sort of progressive interpretations on it.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, okay, so, like, even in these specific cases, I will say, these two, like, first of all, I think that reinterpretation of religious text is 100% fine, and we shouldn't be giving people shit for it. It's like people who are, like, saying, the message you're getting from this book is wrong. Like, okay, whatever. That's a weird thing to say. But, like, these two specific cases, like, example, the Christian case about how there's now a growing body of evidence in biblical literature that it isn't as homophobic as it seems to be, because what has been translated and interpreted when it was translated into English as being against homosexuality were actually laws against pedophilia and rape. And,
interesting.
Yeah. And that somebody when they made the Bible into, say, a King James version, sort of reinterpreted that as to say that gays are bad.
Because as we know, only gays do that.
Yes.
As the very wise scholars of the Middle Ages have told us.
Mm-hmm. And so, and you know, and like, you know, you can tell if this was taken seriously, because if the Greeks were writing against pedophilia, I denounce and reject myself. I'm sure. All hail the great Republic of Turkey. I mean, no.
Hang on.
And the other one is Aisha Discourse, which like is also complicated because it does have to do with like another issue of translations, because there is, so first of all, there's like this, like there's a lot of issues to deal with, like what did marriage mean in this time period, especially in polygynous societies, because like polygynous societies you don't necessarily marry somebody to have sex and have children with them. Sometimes you do that, like you marry somebody as a way to like, I'm just going to take care of you. Like Muhammad's first wife was a widow that he married so that he'd be like, all right, like I'm going to be responsible for taking care of you because we live in a society where that's like normal.
Even in a lot of like cultures, and I mean even in like Sweden up until like just a couple of 100 years ago, marriage was also seen as basically as a form of adoption. Mm-hmm. There was like no, like the sort of relationship that we sort of attribute to marriage today wasn't necessarily part of that. But at the same time, like as you say, translations over thousands of years is kind of hard to pinpoint.
Yes,
to their exact defined meaning.
Mm-hmm. Now, Aisha, who was Muhammad's youngest wife and his last person he married, I think she was his like fourth wife or something like that. Fairly, like the reason that the marriage happened is fairly obviously because her father was a close ally of Muhammad, and it was sort of like a way to establish like a political alliance and a religious movement that was quickly turning into an empire. Then at the same time, so she could, by like kind of norms and the age and the sort of context of the marriage, she could have very well have been 9 years old when that happened. Like there's nothing that says that couldn't have happened. But also there's disagreement over how the counting system worked at that period, and also about kind of inaccuracy of dates, which say that she could have been anything between 9 and 19, which still is creepy because he was like still is creepy if you're like trying to interpret it this way because he was like in his like 40s or something. But it's
a significant difference though.
Yes, but also for the 7th century, that's a very different time and a very different context and a culture that has a very different like take on marriage than like Westerners in the 21st century would have. And so that makes things complicated. And what makes it even more complicated is that there are some places that have very literalist interpretations of the Quran that do result in some like child marriage and stuff like that. And so reinterpreting these things would be super, super good for these religions specifically, because both of them have, you know, in different places have some real places to move. Plus, like, there's also some great reinterpretations, like liberation theology, which is a whole branch of Catholicism that basically interprets as Jesus' words to say, socialism good.
Yeah.
And I would say that there are more priests in Nicaragua who have done more for socialism and put their lives more on the line for socialism than a lot of these edgy atheists on Twitter trying to shit talk Christianity because of you know, just using its worst examples as proof. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, I think it's very important also to like we mentioned it occasionally too, but like when we're talking about like interpreting religious texts, it's not like we're talking about like opening up the closest Bible we have and like thinking about what we think the words mean. It's like because the words we have the words like 99% of people can read today are like a modern translation of a translation of a translation of a translation of a translation going back like hundreds of times, most likely, and going through different interpretations and retranslations and everything, all the back to the original text,
and then fairly often,
which is lost for basically everything.
And fairly often not read, but read to them and interpreted and analyzed from their local clergy members. So
yes, so like it's whatever the original sort of meaning of it all was is basically lost forever. Which is why these sort of interpretations are very complicated. Mm-hmm. And even if you're not careful, you'll end up like causing a schism in your religion.
Yeah. So yeah, like religious reinterpretation has for different causes is literally the engine that makes religion run, and so like I don't know, I never see that it's really I am for it and support it whenever we can. Like that's why I made a whole video when a bunch of Islamic scholars wrote a big long doctrine about why ISIS is violating several core tenets of the religion. And it's like, yeah. I wish that more religions had an entire like class that was dedicated to like legalistic, logical debate and discussion about how things work.
Yeah.
Again, going back to like Islam being like probably one of the most legalistic religions and most focused on like study and research of any of them.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, so everyone thought it was cool when Biden told Trump to shut up. Do you think a female candidate would have gotten away with it? Like, what do you think the public reaction would be if Warren was the candidate and she did that?
Women would not be able to get away with that at all. Are you kidding me? There's no way a woman would get away with that. Like from anyone. Like I would hear fellow Democrats talking about like, oh, it is not presidential of a candidate to say that. We have to go high when they go low, and it's like that. No way.
Yeah, I would say that there would be like a contingent of like in today's day, like if that was Elizabeth Warren this week saying that in the debate, there would I think Twitter would be like, yeah, but then the American people would definitely be shitty about it for sure.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. There would be a select class of people who would be living for it, but as you say, yeah, most people would just be like, eh.
The only thing like from what little of the debate I saw personally, all I could think of was like, man, Bernie would have fucking torn this human being apart. Like Bernie would have like literally just like devoured Trump alive in that debate.
Yeah,
because he doesn't let people like just like spout a bunch of bullshit like that. And also a lot of like why if Trump was successful in the debate, a lot of the stuff that made him successful was forcing Biden to disavow's not a word, is it?
Disavow?
To disavow people like disavow basically popular progressive positions.
Yeah.
Which like yeah.
What a great debate too when Trump just says like, this guy will do all of these good things. And Biden is just like, I will not do these good things. Don't you dare say I will do good things. It's like,
yeah,
great.
I mean, there is some. I have some happy. I did like that Biden's response to Antifa was that it's an idea, not a group, which is much better than his previous position, which was that anarchists should be imprisoned. I do like that the Democratic candidate seems to have softened his position on imprisoning me specifically, which is nice.
Yeah, that's a good take. Yeah, don't imprison Tristan. Got my vote.
Yeah.
I mean, not really. I can't vote. And
me neither. Okay. Somebody said my planned economies video was great. Thank you. It's probably one of the better performing. It's performing better than the Emma Goldman video on my channel that has 5,000 subscribers, so it's doing pretty well. Yeah, so thank you. I'm glad people are liking it. Have you seen the new Borat trailer?
No.
So
is there a new Borat?
There's a Borat 2 that's going to be an Amazon Prime original movie where 14 years later he's making a follow-up to his film, and his daughter is coming with him. I don't know. It doesn't look. I can't even picture how you would make a successful sequel to Borat.
I haven't actually seen Borat.
Oh, it's fun. It's weird.
I really. Man, if a sequel's coming out, I feel like I should only see the first one.
It's very quotable. It's very much like a wonderful view into just how horrible Bush-era America was. Because what Sacha Baron Cohen does is he plays a character who's horrible, but then he goes and talks to horrible people and says horrible things and manages to get them to say some of the most horrible shit in return.
Yeah.
And that's always like the Borat charm.
Yeah.
Um,
The only thing I've seen from him is like This Is America or something like that.
oh, his TV show. I haven't
Whatever
seen
it's
that.
called. It's one of these shows where he like talks to like Republicans and shit and makes them endorse like weapons for kids and shit. It's wild.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Because like that's where he does his best work.
Yeah.
It's definitely a movie from 2006 and has sort of a 2006 level of wokeness about things. There is like a lot of references to like, because like one of the things is that he's just trying to portray a character that's from a country that's profoundly like completely ignorant when it comes to LGBTQ plus issues, that has like, you know, anti-Zionist tendencies and anti-Semitic tendencies and like a lot of kinds of things like that, which like is also like he kind of makes a joke out of that, because he then whenever he's doing like this anti-Semitic stuff, like whenever he's Sacha Baron Cohen himself is Jewish, and whenever he's like just speaking like generic random language, they're yelling at each other in Yiddish, which I think is kind of funny. Okay, I would say like it's one of those. It's not the wokest movie in the world, but it's definitely really funny to watch. And when it hits a good note, it hits a pretty good note.
No, that's nice. I mean, I also feel like it's just like in the consciousness, right? So I feel like I need to. I feel like I need to see that.
Yeah, I enjoyed it immensely when I was a teenager, and I enjoyed it still a little bit as an adult. So I'm happy. Okay.
That's all you can ask for.
Seeing Paradox's recently announced species pact for Stellaris, undead space communism, yes or no? Yeah, necroids.
Necroids, yeah.
I don't know, man. I think Stellaris is getting a bit long in the teeth, and I think needs a redo. But okay.
Yeah, I'm sort of feeling that too.
Stellaris is like it's kind of becoming an old game, and to be honest, it's like it's kind of gotten bloated in some weird ways, and now the like metagame is focused on being like extremely micromanagey over large empires, and it's like, okay, it's getting less fun the more it gets updated.
Yeah, I feel like it needs like one big revamp update for it to kind of really work. I haven't really played it in months, really.
I want Stellaris 2. I want them to take everything they learned from making CK3 and make Stellaris 2.
Yes. And I would like a similar thing for like Hearts of Iron 5 or whatever that would be.
And all of them. Honestly, like the design lessons they learned in making CK3 need to be translated to everything else, because like CK3 makes the rest of the games look like poorly designed messes.
Yeah. What do you feel about Battle for the Bosphorus, if you're into Hearts of Iron 4 at all? Because that's also something that got announced.
Yeah, isn't that like they're updating like Turkey and Greece and stuff?
Turkey, Greece, and
Bulgaria.
Bulgaria, yeah.
I mean, if you're into that kind of thing. The thing about World War II is that guys who love World War II have like some weird specific thing that they really, really love. And so if there's some like Bulgaria stan out there that really likes to study Bulgaria and World War II, which like you should probably watch out those people because Bulgaria was fascist. But yeah, because like Bulgaria is one of those things that has like a victims of communism memorial that has like SS officers on it. So because they were killed when the communists took over after the war. Yeah, that is I don't know. Like, I'm sure it's great for the people who will like it. I feel like I gave Hearts of Iron the college try, but it wasn't for me because it's the things that it wants to juice detail out of are not things that I was super into. Like, I don't really know if if I want to like start reading intense guides on how to make the most effective loadout for your troops.
That's why I just want to reform the Ottoman Empire. That's all I want to do.
I mean, that's all anybody really wants to do. That was really when history went the wrong way. The wrong side lost World War One.
Hang on. Can you say that? I mean, yes, in the sense that both sides were the wrong side.
Yeah, I mean, one had a plan of making a something that was akin to the European Union, and what I don't even know what the geopolitical goals of the Ottomans were, to be honest, to just be relevant.
Survive. Current objective. Survive.
Yeah. Do other historian YouTubers ever call you out? Do they get mad that you aren't all like War and Empire in your history videos? Not all the time. I only know of one history YouTuber who like actively, openly dislikes me, but that's probably for other reasons. Mostly because he's like super right wing, and I am openly against that.
Yeah. I don't think I'm not really established as a history YouTuber. I'm more seen as like a trans YouTuber, so I feel like I don't really attract the ire of history YouTube. Although no one in trans YouTube really dislikes me either. I feel like I need to start coming with hot takes and throwing fights because no one dislikes me.
It's true.
You need a drama to grow on this site.
It's true. I have to figure out something to get myself attacked by. Maybe that statement on World War I. Maybe that'll get me in significant amounts.
Most likely, yes.
I think that the worst take about World War I is thinking that there was a good side of it.
Yes, very much.
They were just like a bunch of people with like -6 modifiers because of inbred, fighting over the last scraps of their empire. You ever see the picture? There's like one picture, I think it's of the Tsar and the Kaiser, and they look virtually identical.
Yes, and isn't the king of the UK, the Great Britain too?
Yeah,
right?
because they're all of them.
Like,
their grandma was Queen Victoria.
Yes, and they're all like heavily inbred.
Yeah,
they all look identical, and they all had the same fashion sense. Like they all had the same mustache and beard.
Yeah, and all of their kids had hemophilia, because their genes just
someone cheated.
Yeah.
Did you know that? Apparently, if according to perfect genealogy, if everyone's dad is who they say that they is, they shouldn't have the hemophilia shouldn't have been a thing. So someone somewhere cheated.
Are you telling me that European nobility were not faithful?
It's a wild concept, I know. It's going to be rough realizing this, but they're not actually ordained by God.
You're telling me the continent that contains both Italy and France.
That's racism. It's not.
France, the
If there
country where
are
the king
two
had...
countries in the world you can be racist to, I feel like it's the Italian and the French.
Yeah. France, the country where the king had a legal station for the official mistress of the country.
Listen, someone's got to do it.
Yeah. Okay. A while ago you said you pass better if you are sitting down and not moving. At the time I assumed you meant there was something subtle about the way you move, but now I'm wondering if it just meant because you are TOLL.
Yes, that is the reason.
Okay. But then the next thing is Mia Mulder is a tall queen we stan.
Yes, thank you. I am. Listen, I'm 2 meters tall. Like, I'm hella tall.
You just have the congenital trait Amazonian.
Yes, which is problematic.
Trust me, you don't want to start picking at that scab with CK3. You don't want to know how deep that goes. If that's the most problematic thing you take away from Crusader Kings 3, God bless you. God
bless.
Yeah. Suppose there were no humans in the Americas in 1492. Do you think Europe would have become so wealthy without all the stuff they took from Native Americans? Like, I think poor people having access to cheap, calorie-rich potatoes was a big part of how the Industrial Revolution was able to happen. Yeah. Also,
Probably.
A lot of those early settlers only survived because of the agricultural knowledge that was developed by the indigenous people who lived there. They could have gotten rich as fuck, though, because the thing is, if there were no indigenous people, then the Americas would have still been filled with, like, Pleistocene megafauna, so they would have been, like, dealing with, like, mammoths and saber-toothed cats and stuff.
Oh, yeah, that would have been one hell of a, like, scramble to colonize, yeah. To get to get that.
You know, think of that big of a part of the Earth that had no humans on it. Holy moly! You could have, first of all, but also there's the whole thing of that like the continent was more or less terraformed, which
Yeah.
to think about what that continent would have been like without 10,000 years of a very keystone species is kind of hard to do.
Yeah, I feel like it would just be more desert.
There would
Right.
be desert. There would be a lot more forestation, which means that the general temperature of the planet would be a lot lower, in general, because of all the carbon that those trees would have sunken up.
Yeah.
Because there's this whole idea that the mass die-off stopped them from terraforming the continent, which led to reforestation, which sucked CO2 out of the atmosphere and caused the Little Ice Age.
Huh. That's an interesting take.
Yeah.
I definitely need to look into that.
So, like, there's a lot, like, we're learning more and more about how indigenous people, like, shaped the continent they lived on, that they weren't just, like, you know,
They weren't just there, yeah. The reason why they are like that, why the continents were the way they were, is because people lived there.
All right, here we go. If Trump dies, what happens with his supporters? Will they lose interest and enthusiasm of, or would becomes even more conspiratorial about his death and more politically active?
They would, yes.
I think, yeah, QAnon would have a fucking heyday, and I definitely think there'd be a lot more terrorism.
Yes, I mean, I feel like the Tea Party. I mean, the Tea Party is sort of the precursor to all of this, right? And they didn't really rally around Donald Trump either. Like, I feel like these sort of far-right extremist movements, they can gather around basically anyone, and they don't even need to gather around anything at all, really, against opposition to Democrats, basically, because that's basically what one of the core fundamental beliefs that they have, and the media.
I do think that one of the like long-lasting effects, even if Trump, you know, is gone and over, is going to be QAnon. That's going to be like I think more than like the alt-right, QAnon is going to be the fascist current that continues forward, and because like to me, like QAnon gives me. I'm actually planning on making a video about this probably in November if it's relevant, which, you know, hopefully not, but probably will be. That QAnon reminds me of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, and how like that like conspiracy theory sort of bred the like anti-Semitic fascist movement in the early 20th century that caused you know, everything, all the horrible stuff to happen. I just want to say, Scott Games, thank you for following. Or, sorry, thank you for subscribing. With your Amazon Prime, Scott's Games. So that's like throwing large rocks. Scottish sports are fucking... there's no one who lives up to the stereotype where it's like, let's just have sports where you throw logs and pick up large rocks and throw them.
It's a good sport.
Good sport.
Gotta hand it to them. No
Like...
one thought of throwing big logs until the Scots, and like it's the perfect sport, really.
I gotta think. What was Viking sports? There's gotta have been something interesting.
I have no clue, actually. I should know this. I feel like there's a lot of board games, which tracks for Swedish culture.
I guess, yeah, because you'd have to have something when before you'd be stuck inside for like huge chunks of the year, right?
Yeah, like half the year. You either have to travel because you can't farm anyway, so you can barely hunt because there are no animals up here really. You don't really want to hunt. Like, I mean, ideally you would stay indoors half of the year and just wait until the ice melts and you can go hunting. For Christians,
so
I'm finding a lot of just like board games and alcohol games, swimming competitions.
What do you like? If you think about it, what would Vikings do in the like 11 months of the year where it's too cold to really leave your longhouse?
You play Warhammer, yeah.
When the sun goes down in February and doesn't come up until the end of December.
No, it's the other way around.
Oh,
In the
right.
summer, the sun doesn't. In the summer, the sun is always out forever. It does never go down.
And
So
the
the sun
winter-
sets in late August and doesn't come out until April.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
So
right
for
now
that
you must be
entire
like-
part, all you can do is play Warhammer.
You must be like in permanent evening now, right?
Oh, pretty much, yeah. I mean, sometimes during like midday, there are still like pretty good minutes. But like as you can see, I mean, there's no daylight during these streams we do anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
And they're pretty much gone. Yeah, it's getting darker earlier and earlier now. Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think about Pence's chances if Trump dies? The other day, Ben Burgess said he's worried if Trump dies, the moderate conservatives will come back and the alt-right people will still turn out because they are all emotional and angry at the libs. So Pence would probably win.
No.
Pence's.
I feel like a lot of support is like tied up in sort of Trump's anti-establishmentism, and I don't feel like Pence can keep that up.
And his cult of personality. And also on top of that, like your candidate dying is going to have a big impact on your support, and that's in a situation where even if there was a bump, it would need to be like a pretty significant bump at this point to make up for all of the losses. Like right now,
I don't like 10 points ahead in the polls, like even greater than Hillary was.
yeah, it's pretty huge. He's at like 8% ahead nationally, where like at this point, Hillary Clinton was ahead at by 3.8.
Yeah.
So it's not even close. But
Yeah.
like I said, if Trump wins, it's going to be because of like fuckery with the counting of votes and stuff like that. That's the Republicans are already like basically giving up on trying to win the election legitimately, and they're trying to just like fuck with vote counting and do all of this kind of weird shit to try and stop it.
Yeah. Like there's no way at this point. There's almost no way that like the Republicans are actually going to win this democratically. They're not going to win. They're not going to win. They're going to cheat.
Yeah, I think last I saw they have about a 10% chance of winning the popular vote.
Yeah.
And about a 19% chance of winning the Electoral College if all the votes are counted from the polls.
Mm-hmm. And I also saw someone that I think 538 said that they have like that the Democrats have like a sort of like 75% chance to win the Senate too.
Yeah, it's
and keep the House, which would be like interesting.
It would be. All right, would you rather be a Northern soldier in the American Civil War or a Roman soldier in one of their civil wars?
Oh my God.
Did Roman soldiers like get vegetables?
No, I don't think so.
Because like both of them were just going to eat like bug-infested hardtack and like I'm just thinking about the first thing that comes to mind is the Union soldiers that would dip their hardtack in their coffee so that all of the weevils would be like taken out, so that they would skim them off the top and then they could eat their bread. So like, oh yeah, you didn't know that?
No, what the fuck? Oh God.
Now, like that was the well-off soldiers, because the Confederate soldiers were basically starving.
Yes.
And were living off of like food that their family sent you.
I mean, I guess I would want to be like a Northern soldier because that war is going to be over soon. If I'm a Roman legionary, that's me for like a decade.
Yeah.
Like if I'm a Northern soldier, at least I can go home.
Plus, you get one of those cool squash hats. Thank you for the super chat, Zane. Asking, did a Canadian Prime Minister have a cult of personality? I would argue that Pierre Elliott Trudeau definitely had one. And
The guy
Justin
who
Trudeau
is
tried to have
before
one.
this current Trudeau, right?
Yeah. This was the guy who was Prime Minister in the 60s. Who did do stuff like was part of like trying to make Canada more of its own thing. Like he's the guy who gave Canada its flag it has right now. Because we used to just have a Union Jack or like a red ensign type thing.
Yeah.
Our Hearts of Iron 4 flag, which got updated to, which was just like the what's it called? The Union Jack on a red flag with like the crest of Canada on it. But that got replaced with the the one that you all know and love, which I think is like a legit decent flag.
It's a pretty good flag.
Yeah.
The big old maple leaf, hell yeah.
It's got 2 Polands on either side and a maple leaf in the center.
Everything is Poland.
Everything is Poland. All right. Yeah, so I'd rather eat weevil bread and go home in 5 years than like... And also having like... Yeah, I'm trying to think. Because like maybe they...
I also feel like people, like there will be trains and I can like take a train home and someone will sing music that I can recognize even today.
Yeah, because I
can
mentioned...
sing about shooting Confederates.
Yeah, which is always fun. Because I imagine being a legionary, like... all you get is your daily olive oil ration, and I mean it's easier to travel around Europe on a Vespa. That's nice, but because like for some reason Vespas fell out of fashion after the Roman Empire fell.
Only popular in Italy now, yeah.
And then going to wolf whistle at the Germans. Sorry, I don't know why I decided that Italians are on notice today.
Yeah, but they're on thin ice today, yeah. It's usually the French, but now it's Italians. Turns out.
Thing is, I can get away with that because technically one of my ancestors 400 years ago lived in France.
Yeah, but I mean that's... I mean, technically, aren't we all like descended from Charlemagne or some shit like that?
It's true. Well,
yeah.
Or Genghis Khan. Those are the two. Just remembering, oh man, I'm just remembering again when they canceled Genghis Khan, and then somebody said Genghis Khan living rent free in 13% of people's DNA, and I was like, the fucking great line.
It's amazing.
All right, all these treatments are, this is how I'm like, oh yeah, Trump's gonna be fine. They're giving him experimental treatments over and over again. All of these treatments they're loading up Trump with. Could it just be that they're trying to get him over this thing as fast as possible because they know it's really bad for him to be off the campaign trail right now? Maybe, although I feel like you don't throw weird experimental treatments at people when they're doing fine.
Yeah, like he's probably going through a rough patch, but I feel like because he's going through a rough patch, I also feel like Trump is the guy who would be like, the commander-in-chief, you need to give me all the things so I can be out immediately. Because apparently he's like deathly scared of being like seen as weak. Like that's his worst nightmare. Yeah. So I can see him like ordering things to do that because like I don't think because he's like the president, he's like the commander in chief. I feel like he can order people to give him whatever the fuck he wants. I feel like he can have meth if he wants it. Yeah. He probably has meth. He probably does like meth, so he can stand up and like take the train and take the car, so he can be in public.
He went to his
25 seconds.
He went to his court physician and said, "Give me the most extreme treatment."
I need what's it called? That Nazi meth, Iverton, whatever it's called. I need that so I can stay awake for 36 hours and make sure that I'm on the campaign trail and never stop.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like they're gonna pump him so full of drugs that he's gonna seem fine right up until he just fucking dies. Because like the thing is, I don't know about you, but when you're 74 years old and you have a disease that kicks your ass like that, the number one thing you want to do is have the intense lifestyle job of being president of America and then being pumped full of drugs to keep you functioning while not being in bed resting. Plus, on top of that, if he had been following the rules of his doctor, like he would not be able to, like he has to be like quarantined for like 20 days, and he can't do that.
Yeah, which is not gonna do. He's already not doing that. He's already like
he already went into a car and exposed his Secret Service members to the disease, so that he could just drive around the block and wave at people to prove. The thing is, like, this is the thing where I think he's gonna die is because like people who are going to live don't go to this much effort to talk about how alive they are. Like
I would suspect, I would almost think a little bit that they're gonna do a sort of monarchy switch that like the day after.
Uh-oh.
And then it just turns out that he's actually, oh my god.
You froze. Hello? You froze for a little bit right when you were about to explain the funny part of your joke.
Fuck. Damn it. Well, I was gonna say that I think Republicans are gonna steal the election and they're gonna do a monarchy switch where we won't hear from Trump outside of Twitter for like a week or something, and then like 3 days after the election, he dies, and all of the photos we see are like super weird and look a bit old, and they've just been weekend at Bernieing him for a few days, so the Republicans can have the presidential seat without actually winning.
See, the thing about Trump is that actually, if he like retreated from public life and said very little, I feel like that would actually help him.
Yes.
Hey, Matt, thank you for the $5 super chat. Lightning round. Thoughts on John Oliver, Jon Stewart, Trevor Noah, Samantha Bee, Stephen Colbert, and Bill Maher. So I think first you should talk about your opinion on John Oliver because you did not make a video about him.
I did not. I think John Oliver is he's a pretty good entertainer. I feel like he does comedy on the sort of political issues that I know enough about to sort of find funny, like niche enough. I feel like the last year he's really been stepping up his game. Like since I made my video on Last Week Tonight, I feel like Last Week Tonight has really stepped up its game to like address sort of systemic issues that are really undermining our healthy democracy.
Yeah.
So he's doing better. He can do even better, and I feel like he is not beyond criticism, as some John Oliver stans like to think. But he's doing a lot better, and he's doing good work. I just feel like some people are standing him a bit too hard.
Yeah, I think he's a good gateway drug for libs. He is like a way to turn libs into socialists because he's like, hey, you like liberal stuff. What about this thing about class? Like, he's the only person who would take a group full of like brunch going what's it called, like Clinton bots, and be like, hey, have you thought about how payday loans are bad, or how multi-level marketing focuses on hurting people who are underprivileged and don't have money? And like he's really good at, I think that if there's one thing I can credit for him is he takes class issues and repackages it in a way so that privileged libs will actually listen to it.
Yeah, he actually does something that is like almost genius, because he talks a lot about, as you say, like he repackages all these things, because a lot of leftists, I feel like, have theory brain, where they will want to talk about like systemic issues in society, but they will always package it in sort of like, well, Marx said in the 1800s, Marx said about this labor value theory, and then like a bunch of liberal brains would just shut off and be like, and they don't want to interact with it anymore. Whereas John Oliver can like make similar points, but without like discouraging liberals from the scary theory.
Liberals don't see problems as systemic. They just see them as a bunch of disconnected things that happen because Trump is bad. So the fact that he goes and like talks about like, hey, this thing that's bad, whom's this happening? If you actually pay attention, it's part of a bigger problem that always comes down to people trying to get rich off of other people's misery.
Yeah.
And so
I feel like he feels a niche that a lot of people do, and
yeah. So that was the lightning round. Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart, as far as I know, like I mean, he was pretty yikes during the. He was good for his day, but he's kind of yikes in retrospect for his time on the Daily Show. The amount of work he does to, like, if I would say my favorite thing about John Oliver is the work he does for 9/11 first responders, because he has been like the number one person who's been like advocating nonstop to make sure that they get healthcare and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Trevor Noah is kind of uninspiring and boring. I don't really like him all that much, to be honest.
The same kind of. I mean, I feel like he's taken the Daily Show to a direction where it's kind of survived past Jon Stewart, because I don't think it would have otherwise. Like he made the Daily Show work, but it's just like it doesn't work in the same way anymore, and it appeals differently, but it still works.
Samantha Bee is the worst. She's basically she is the embodiment of everything that drives me up the wall about liberals.
Oh no, I haven't seen anything about Samantha Bee, so I have no idea.
She's she was like one of the number one late night talk show people who was like, the Bernie bros are bad. Hey, all you people who voted for Jill Stein, you're the worst. Did an entire episode talking about how bad Jill Stein was. Like, just kind of like all that kind of shit. Stephen
Yeah, because
Col-
that's why Trump won. Yeah, because Jill Stein got 4 votes.
yeah.
But
Stephen Colbert, I feel like, has gotten, because he's moved on to network TV, he's had to be a lot more safe. And ever since he moved on to the, what's it called? He took over for David Letterman. I feel like it's been downhill. The Colbert Report was like clever thing for the Bush era, but I never really was a huge fan of, his move on to the Late Show has been kind of mad to me.
yeah, I like him. I think it's fun.
And Bill Maher,
He's not super political, but sometimes things are just fun.
yeah, and Bill Maher sucks. Bill Maher
Bill Maher
aggressively sucks.
sucks.
Bill Maher aggressively sucks. He's like anytime I like his name just like now triggers the rage juice in my brain.
Yes.
Now, thank you, Zane again. At Mia, do forget that Sweden is monarchy.
No.
As someone who's trying to become the monarch of Sweden, I'm sure you're very aware.
I am definitely aware.
Strategic marriage.
I'm gonna strategic marry myself into the Swedish royal family, and then have everyone else log off Minecraft.
Yeah. All right.
You have another super chat, by the way, which is
Oh,
from
my.
a very interesting name.
Yeah,
which
that's actually.
I don't want to say.
You're probably touching yourself right now. Thank you for $5 super chat. Funny thing. You're probably touching yourself right now is also one of my patrons, and so is always in the credits of my videos with that username. So I've kind of become numb to it. Which is like, honestly, if I should probably take all of my Patreon pledges and change it to a new Patreon account that just has a hilarious name, so they have to put it in the credits. But anyway, solidarity with the people in Chile made the referendum put an end to the Pinochet oppression. There's a thing going on in Chile today. I know that there was big protests like about a year ago. I don't know if there's something new though.
Chile. What's happening in Chile?
Because like there was a bunch
I am too not great. Apparently, yeah. There's I'm seeing a lot of stuff about Chile. Chile is at the barricades. It's a big revolution, apparently.
Sweet. Yeah, I mean, I'm on the verge of making a video about CyberSyn, which was a big project under Allende, and Chile has been through a lot of bullshit because of American intervention to stop anything even resembling socialism. So if you guys can get rid of that, my heart goes out to Chile. Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, there's like huge political movements happening, like big protests and referendums and everything. There's a lot of political change.
Yeah, that's a thing that I've been on top of for quite a bit. Don't talk about. Oh yeah, there's apparently. Oh yeah, I forgot about. I had somebody approach me wanting to make a video about conversion therapy for autistic people. I have heard about this.
Oh, that's dark. Also, something that's like way more legal than conversion therapy for LGBT people, which is wild.
Did you mention the new book club we started in the Discord server? I haven't, but yeah, some people in the Step Back Discord server are starting a book club if you wanted to join that. It's a channel. I guess I should probably put a Discord invite out. Everyone's very excited about this this new thing.
This book club?
Yeah. It's completely run by the people who are in the things. So there's a Discord invite for everybody who wants to join up. I'm excited to see how it turns out. If people stick with it, it'd make me very happy. Okay, do you think candidate Bernie would have committed to packing the court by now? Oh fuck yeah.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
All right.
The issue of packing the court is like something that's like enough in the air that like Biden could commit to doing it, and I feel like maybe he would have popular support in doing so. But I have no idea.
There is something to be said that if he like opens that can of worms, he's opening it for the Republicans in the future. Like any
maybe that's true. Maybe like Democrats don't want to like mention it until they have total power of all 3 chambers of
it's definitely
government.
the nuclear option, and that's like one of the big things that I think that we need to keep in mind is that any new political maneuvering you do opens it up for the other side. That's sort of one of the things that the Democrats didn't learn during the what's it called? During the Obama years, when Obama was basically governing via executive order, that would then become normalized, and now Trump happened. Okay. Countries in the developing world sell raw materials to the developed world, where they turn them into manufactured goods they sell back to the developing world. Does it still work like that? I've heard a lot of leftists say that that's the dynamic, but we really don't manufacture stuff in Europe and North America anymore.
No, we sort of Europe sort of owns everything and sort of administrates everything now. They just moved all the manufacturing also into quote unquote developing countries and extract resources from them and develop them there and then ship them over here, and then we pocket the difference.
Yeah.
It's administrative exploitation rather than technological exploitation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because now manufacturing happens now we have poorer countries that do the manufacturing. So now the raw materials are owned by Western corporations, extracted by workers in developing countries, but all the profits go to Western corporations, which then go to manufacturers that manufacture things for pretty cheap.
In factories that are also owned by Western corporations.
Or at least or I would actually, often they're not, but what happens is they then sell them to consumers that are in developed countries that are basically the source of all of the purchasing power, and then that stuff gets sold back to those developing countries if they're lucky. So yeah, it's the further up this, and also we own all of the capital, and we have all of the service things. So the West, instead of now having it just has all of the money. So now you can't do anything without becoming indebted to them and making them money. A lot of people call Star Trek socialist. Doesn't the fact that the means of production are owned by the state rather than the people mean it's technically not a socialist society?
I guess technically, we don't actually know that much about how Star Trek society works.
Yeah, they keep it intentionally vague.
Yeah. It's implied that it varies from planet to planet.
And as we've also learned, Nokia exists in the 23rd century, so...
Excuse me?
There was a product placement in the 2009 Star Trek movie made by Mystery Box Man, where he gets a phone call on his car, and it's the Nokia ringtone.
Well, those aren't technically canon. Those are canon in the Kelvinverse, which is another universe. It doesn't count.
Something about the Kelvin timeline made Nokia survive.
Yeah. Romulus imploded and Nokia refounded itself.
Makes sense. Okay.
Oh my god, it's not real. I refuse to accept that the Kelvinverse being real. I never get upset that from nerdy shit that much anymore, because I'm a whole ass adult and I have my own drive and aspirations. But the Kelvinverse does piss me off.
Yeah, especially because it stopped as soon as we actually got to the point where I thought the one that Justin Lin did was actually pretty good. And unfortunately, the last one, and it was the last one for a while, and I was like, oh, but this one actually felt like a Star Trek movie, finally.
At last.
Star Trek Beyond. It's a solid movie.
I don't remember that one.
That is one.
Is that one with the weird girl who phases in and out of reality or something?
I think so. It has a whole scene with a dirt bike, which is pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah.
But it was actually written by Simon Pegg. And Simon Pegg is apparently a huge Trekkie.
Simon Pegg in that movie is one of the few things that are actually good about the Kelvinverse.
Mm-hmm. He nailed the role of Scotty.
Yeah.
None of the socialists won the GPC leadership race, and now I'm kind of bummed. Las Caras came kind of close to winning. Yeah, our Green Party had its leadership race, and basically green capitalism won yet again.
Oh no.
Yeah, so it's okay, I guess we're back to the New Democrats. We're back to that. We're back to the Social Democratic Party. being the only left-wing party in parliament. It's fun.
Why can't we ever have nice things?
Yeah. Someone wanted me to ask, have you seen your Wikipedia article?
Yes. I actually stumbled on it by accident. Like, I think the same day it was created. I think because I just vaguely remembered us talking about Wikipedia articles. And I just vaguely remembered having like, oh, did someone actually do that? And I just Googled my name, and apparently, yeah, I have a Swedish Wikipedia.
The guy who did it is a pretty big step back fan, and like did a lot of research. Like they went and found all of your old articles and articles featuring you. So apparently it's they did the work.
It's a pretty good Wikipedia page, to be honest.
Did you feel pretty good after reading it?
What do I think about it? Well, I'm not sure what I think about it. I think it's kind of I think it's cool. I haven't bragged that much about it though. I feel like I should. I don't dislike it. I do like it. I just like one part. I don't want to, because I don't have that many subscribers. I don't want to be this sort of. I don't want to give the image that I'm sort of full of myself, or sort of like, haha, I have a Wikipedia article, haha, I matter, I'm relevant. Like, I don't want to be like that.
Your Twitter profile should say Wikipedia article haver.
It really should. And so I don't want to like give the sort of idea that I'm like a pompous ass because I have a Wikipedia article. But I think it's pretty cool. I'm not sure how long it's going to last, because again, I'm not sure how relevant I am. But I think it's very cool to have one, and I'm pretty happy that I do. Hopefully it survives, because the longer it's on there, the longer no one can take it away from me.
It's true.
Also, now that it's there, now that someone has created it, it just means that more people can like contribute to it. Like, I don't have to do shit, which I'm very happy about.
It's like how proud I am that I ruined science at one point.
Ruined science?
Okay. This is fun.
How did you ruin science?
I ruined science using Wikipedia. It was very fun. So I have a friend named Xander who runs a channel called Art Explains. And he made a video about, because he just makes like kind of like, cutesy curiosity videos. And he made a video about the belly button. And what he found out while he was researching this video about the belly button was that one of the ligaments that's attached to your belly button has this long and annoying name. And so he's just like, screw it, I'm just going to call it Xander's ligament from now on in this video. So what I did is I found there was a Wikipedia page for the ligament, because all those like parts of the body, obscure parts of the body, have one. And I just added the name of this ligament, also known as the Xander's ligament, with the citation leading to the video.
Oh no!
And I thought, like, okay, someone's gonna change this in a few days. It was just a fun thing I could do, so I messaged him on Facebook and showed it to him, and we had a laugh, and that was it. But then it got edited a couple years later. Someone like came and cleaned it up, and then in the talks section was like, oh, this like has been further ruined by the fact that some high profile journal of medicine that was studying cancer in this area of the body, referred to the ligament, aka Xander's ligament, or the Xander.
So now it's a thing.
The Xander ligament. But then on top of that, so he did some research into like how far this went, and found that he found slides from like medical schools and things like that. It just shows how deep like a little bit of Wikipedia vandalism actually wound up in like people learning this shit in med school, and it actually being cited as like the name of a ligament in an academic paper. And I was like,
this is how you name shit.
Yeah. It was, and also in the video, there's a video that he made about this whole thing, and I'm in the video, but like it's like I'm disguising myself, but it's extraordinarily obvious that it's me. It's really fun. So that's that story.
That's wild.
Yeah. The next question I got here, and I'll go find the video while I'm doing this. Got any hot takes on the conflict in the Caucasus?
War is bad, and don't invade Armenia.
Yeah, Azerbaijan.
We don't have any power there, but like Turkey shouldn't do shit. And I mean, it's not really Turkey who is like the main aggregator, but it still shouldn't.
It's Azerbaijan
Don't.
that's invading.
Yeah, exactly. Fellow Turkic nation bullying Armenia and keep bad.
My opinion, countries shouldn't invade other countries.
Hot take. The
Yeah.
Tomahawk missile is headed to your apartment right now.
The problem is that I don't know like the most about this topic, and so I'm like terrified of, because it's like a very old, like Armenia and Azerbaijan have been like at each other's throats for ever, I want to say, like a long time. There's a big long issue between the two of them. And so I don't want to like step in poop here because some random person decides to speak on the weird stuff about, here I found the video, the weird stuff about like what's going on between two countries on the Caspian Sea. Sarah, put the video in the chat for everybody.
Nice.
Okay. So right now I'm cautiously saying, don't do an invasion. It's really not cool.
Invasion bad, war bad. Generally good advice. I feel like you can't really go wrong there, honestly.
I have never invaded a country in my whole life, and I have not regretted it one bit.
Yeah, same.
All right. Let's see. Where's my thingy? Okay, there we go. What next? What next question do people have now that we're all the way up to almost the time when we started taking questions?
Oh my god.
No, we are past that. We're at 12:35 now.
Oh, thank god. Well, it's something.
Since it's a fantasy story, is the character cross-dressing maybe to bend patriarchal social convention? I don't know what this was a reference to.
Yeah, I feel like it's in connection to something else.
Yeah. Could you find fulfillment in a task if you knew an AI could do it better and faster with almost no effort? That issue comes up in Iain Banks' novel a lot.
I think so.
Yeah, sometimes.
I feel like an AI can draw better than I can, but I still enjoy like art. So.
Yeah, and also like there is people who just like, who have enjoyment in just doing the act of the thing, like people who enjoy, like there's people who enjoy farm labor, even the stuff that can be automated, just because they just like the act of doing it.
Yeah.
You think Islam is legalistic compared to Judaism? LOL. Judaism is also a very legalistic religion. Yes.
Yes.
Both of them are very... It's almost as if they're related to each other in some way.
And then we have Christianity, who's like the odd one out, who just decided to be like, we're gonna be legalistic for a while. And then they stopped.
I will say that the Islamic Empire had way more resources and followers to build a scholarly class that the rabbinical class, while being impressively legalistic and scholarly, has never had like as many people as there were like imams who were trying to suss out the Shia codes and stuff like that. But still, yeah, fair enough. Judaism is also a very legalistic and scholarly religion. So it's like when, oh yeah. It's almost like when Libertarian Socialist Rants read Conquest of Bread back when he was a YouTube chud, and that made him a leftist. I did not know that. That wonderful Scottish man is who made me into a, or who, he didn't get me into it, but he was like one of the people who was like, hey, I like this. I like that there's anarchists on YouTube now. Anyone here like Panda Express? I don't think they have it. They don't have it in Canada. I don't think they have it. Do they have it that in Sweden? Panda Express?
No, I don't know what that is.
It's a chain of fast food Chinese restaurants that's only in America, I think.
I think I've seen it in like TV shows and shit.
Yeah. Can you even do Borat again now? No, you really can't. In today's day and age, you really couldn't do a lot of what happened in Borat. Borat's
Which
one
is
of those...
kind of what makes me interesting to see what happens in Borat 2 or whatever it's called.
Yeah, because like Borat 1 is one of those movies that you absolutely could not make today, but some of the jokes that it makes by being so wrong have actually killed me. Like, he got arrested like 6 or 7 times making the movie. For example, like, there's one scene where they just they set up that the two characters are getting mad at each other and getting in a fight, and it leads to a chase scene through a hotel where they're both 100% naked. And so these two men are chasing each other completely naked. And then there's a real estate conference going on at the hotel, and they run through the middle of it and film this, because like the movie's like kind of like a semi-reality show type thing, like, you know, Byron Constant. And so like that was a whole thing.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, like things you can't do today.
Yeah. Hey, you're probably touching yourself right now. Did another super chat, thank you. Could Canada/Sweden grant asylum to Polish LGBT people in light of what's basically persecution by the right-wing government?
Yes, they could. They probably won't, but they definitely could.
Yeah.
If they had like any sort of balls, but they don't.
Especially Sweden, because you could theoretically escape Poland on a boat and get to Sweden pretty easily.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also like we're both in the EU. You could just take a train.
Yeah, and
like,
that should definitely be a thing.
But I mean, it won't like give proper like asylum, because Sweden is not like doesn't have balls, honestly.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, Sweden gave asylum to American deserters during the Vietnam War who didn't want to, kill people. Now we just complain all the time about immigrants, and that's all this country does all the time.
We did that too. We took in Americans who didn't want to fight in Vietnam. Thank you, Rude Dog 2525 for following, by the way.
But they didn't cut off diplomatic relationship with you. They did for us for like a year.
Oh yeah, that's fair. We refused to go to the Iraq War, and all of a sudden we got a cow from the United States with mad cow disease, and they cut off beef trade with us, which heavily depressed the Alberta economy. And we had to do, and also we had the little known prequel to COVID that same year in Toronto, which was SARS, which happened only in like Wuhan and Toronto.
America is really a sore friend, isn't it? Like whenever someone does something that America doesn't want, suddenly they get really upset by that.
Yep. All right. A lot of atheists also say that moderate religious people are bad because they normalize religion, and the extremists can take advantage of that. Thoughts on that take? I mean,
they normalize religion, and extremists can take advantage of that. What?
That moderate.
No, you keep going.
I never understand what, like this kind of like new atheist thinking is like. I never understand it.
So, like, if religion becomes more accepted as a concept, extremists will take advantage of that and like.
Yeah,
make
this is
extremist religion works more. I don't think that's true.
Yeah, it's not true. But this is the line of argument that's used so that they can have an excuse for being shitty to all Muslims. For the this is an explicitly Islamophobic argument to try and delegitimize the right of Muslims to just be in a place where you are. But, like, a lot of times when you're dealing with extremists who want to hurt people, the number one people that you can turn to one, fight them, and two, bring them out of that, are people who are moderates of that same religion. Like, more Muslims died fighting ISIS and fighting the Taliban and fighting Al-Qaeda than any other religious group.
Yeah, like especially when we're talking about ISIS, what like a lot of anti-Muslims like love talking about. Like ISIS fought primarily against Muslims, and like enslaved other Muslims. Mm-hmm. And, that was not like a religion bad sort of war. That is like extreme political fascism sort of move. Because like what made ISIS wasn't necessarily its religious fundamentalism. It was like its extremely far right. Interpretation of it, which is like, which is not a religious thing. That is a political thing, even though they are sometimes hard to differentiate. But yeah,
didn't he assault Pamela Anderson in that movie? No, that scene was set up because that was horrible. But it was a scene they were doing. That was a bit they were doing.
Oh well, it's good that no one was like.
Because the quote unquote plot of Borat is that he goes to America to make a movie, like a documentary about how great America is, to teach Kazakhstan how to be better. But when he's there, he watches Baywatch and he falls in love with Pamela Anderson, and he goes on like a trip across America to get to LA to find Pamela Anderson. And then he does a kind of like, it's kind of a reference to like Central Asia, sort of the Central Asian kidnapping marriage thing. But so he like kidnaps her he tries to kidnap her at a book signing. But like, it's well known that when they were making that, like Pamela, it was a scene that Pamela Anderson was involved with. Like, it's not like they just assaulted her. I feel like that would have made the news a bit more.
That's Pamela Anderson, yeah.
But the fact is that the show is this mix, the movie is this mix of like fictional scenes like that, but also real scenes, and fictional scenes like that filmed in front of real people, which is also, it's a weird mix of things, but also it's, I hate how much it's very funny, but also very wrong.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the desire to just stay in bed and do nothing at home in the pandemic? Good question.
Yeah.
If you have a solution to this, please send us.
Let us know. We're struggling. We're YouTubers. We work from home.
Yeah.
We have it like pretty, like, we can set our own work schedules for the most part. If anyone should be thriving in this time, it's us, and we're all falling apart.
Yeah, I'm not liking that.
We're not doing great.
Mm-hmm. It's true. I will say, like, I don't get like the doom scrolling, don't want to leave bed feeling. I just more get like very, very distracted by all the fucking shit happening, and then don't get work done. But now I'm
doom scrolling. That is what doom scrolling is, though.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a position right now where hard deadlines keep me going, and my whole thing is like, so I have hard deadlines because of sponsors and stuff, but on top of that, I also have like, I have the idea that if I made progress on any of the projects I'm working on in a day, then I consider that a win. And so some days I have good days and some days I have bad days, and I just have to realize that like days when I'm streaming, giving myself a whole bunch of work to do is just not going to be a thing that happens because this eats up a lot of my energy. So I don't know, like, it's just, again, very often when you work from home, you have to have like you have to know yourself. But yeah, things are kind of shitty right now, and nobody should feel bad about like not being able to be very productive when like watching the world fall apart, because nobody's feeling super motivated right now.
Yeah.
And take care of yourself before you take care of others, but also my patrons need content.
Isn't that the horrifying reality of it all? Also, just like for the position that we're in, because it's also like we have to take care of ourselves, but also we have sponsor deadlines, and Patreon needs to be fed.
Yeah,
we're never going to be free.
I'm learning more often these days to be able to like kind of keel over into like hyper focus mode. Like when I'm at the editing phase of a video, there's like almost nothing that can stop me from editing until it's done. But like when I'm researching and writing and stuff like that, like, man, I hate when it's time to start writing. I hate writing so much.
Yeah, writing is the worst part of our job.
Yeah. All right, we need Victoria 3 so badly, though. I know.
Yes. In these dark times, we definitely need it.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure why they're holding out so much on Victoria 3. Do they just think it's not going to do well?
From what I've heard, it's because no one knows how to do it. There are many specific things about the Victoria 2's like economy system, and because the economy system is sort of integral to how the game sort of works, and like with the culture, religion, and education level, and all of like and how each social group can have like their own money saved and their own literacy rate and culture and religion and everything. Apparently all of that code was like, it's just one big block of spaghetti code written by some mad genius at Paradox like 20 years ago, and no one knows how to redo it. So if they're gonna do Victoria 3, they have to make it from scratch, but they also have to sort of make it similar to Victoria 2 enough so that it can work, and no one apparently knows how to do that. Apparently, it's like an impossible. It's an impossible task.
This kind of reminds me. This is like a thing I'd be interested. How is your video game developing hobby going?
Bad. It's not doing great. I mean, I need more hours in the day, really, because in these uncertain times, I feel like a lot of time just goes to surviving, and then you also have to work. I haven't really had that much time to learn coding yet. One day, if I ever manage to like get like 3 times the amount of patrons I have right now, so I can pay tax without shitting myself, and potentially hire like an assistant or something. Maybe like if I had like a writing or a research assistant, if my channel decides to actually have actual growth someday, then maybe I will be able to dedicate a lot of my time to like learn how to code and make Victoria 3. But until then, I can't really do much of anything really.
Makes sense. For any of you two, favorite flag?
Favorite flag? What is there's a flag from like for a US state. Hang on.
Probably saying
State flag.
Probably say my favorite flag is I think it's Nepal. It's the one that isn't actually a square.
The one that isn't actually a square?
Yeah, it's like a triangle.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty good flag. That's true.
And it has a dragon on it too. So that's like all the things I like.
Damn, they changed a bunch of flags. The flag of Kentucky. No, wait, it was favorite, like not least. Yes, the flag of Montana actually. Yeah, the flag of Montana. The US state of Montana. I can't really show it. But that's like paint. It looks very much like it's drawn in paint. That's my favorite flag.
Pretty good one. Okay. So the next one is: wasn't Bulgaria the only Axis power that gained land after the war?
Did they?
I don't know. I'm not a big Eastern. I've never made a video about Eastern Europe, despite many requests to do so, because I know that if you get anything even slightly wrong, they don't just leave angry comments. They like leave a dead animal on your front door.
Yes. I don't know. I
wasn't only Kaiser Wilhelm a hemophiliac. No, Nicholas not Nicholas II. Nicholas II's son, Alexander, I think his name was. He was a hemophiliac. That's why they got Rasputin to try and heal him. That was the whole idea behind that. So, Nicholas II's son, the person who would have become the next Tsar of Russia after Nicholas II died, but then the Soviets killed him as a child because that was brutal. So there he was a hemophiliac.
Wasn't he technically emperor for like for a short period after like his abdication or something, and then he like passed it on immediately to his like brother, and then the brother didn't want it, and then it was like, oh well, I guess no one's Tsar now.
Maybe. I think there was also a period.
It doesn't matter because they all died anyway.
Yeah, there probably would have been a period after Nicholas died, but before he did. Either way, he was a hemophiliac. Is it true Iceland was uninhabited when the Vikings showed up?
From what I don't know at all, I didn't think about this really. Viking history is not my forte, but from what I hear is maybe, but there may also have been like some Irish monks just hanging out, but they may have all died because of Vikings. They may have come and just killed them all.
Being Irish is almost like being Polish or Lebanese in that, like, it's an ethnic group where they're very quick to say that somebody from their group did a thing before everyone else did. I remembered when I did a video about the Islamic Golden Age and talking about how they invented the kerosene lamp, that some guy came to me and was like, no, the Polish people invented that first in this year that was like centuries after it was invented in Iran. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I did not really keep up with what makes QAnon more dangerous than the alt-right was. It's just more that it's way more sticky in the popular consciousness. It's a conspiracy theory that is self-reinforcing and is way more, like, it's way less, like, if you're, like, I don't know, being an the alt-right is now, after Charlottesville, been pretty closely associated with being a white supremacist and a neo-Nazi, while, like, if you were to say that QAnon is a fascist conspiracy theory because they want all of their political enemies to just be executed in this, like, day of reckoning that they talk about, some people will still be like, they're not fascist. But but it really is.
I feel like if QAnon has a Charlottesville moment, people will recognize that. But because Charlottesville was such a shit show for the alt-right, they're never going to do that because they're basically the same people. Mm-hmm. And QAnon, just the people who are like in charge or whatever, who are, it's not an organization really, but like people who are like high profiles within it, they know that they could never do that because it would also become a shit show. So they just won't have one.
Yeah. In many ways, the alt-right is like a German-style fascism trying to set itself up in America, inspired by the Nazis, while QAnon is a quote-unquote anti-elitist conspiracy theory about moral degradation in the Republic that needs to be resolved by fascism. And to me, that feels like the truly American fascism that could actually get some real, could really dig its heels in.
Yeah, fascism with American characteristics.
Mm-hmm. And also it's spreading so much. It's so much more prevalent than the alt-right, than like people who are like actually into like alt-right shit and white nationalism are. Like like those groups were like always associated with like being fucking hate groups because they are. While QAnon is just turning into like a phenomenon movement with like all of your parents and grandparents on Facebook. Alright, if Europeans never colonized America, wouldn't indigenous Americans eventually become colonized by a Central American empire in the vein of the Mayas or the Aztecs?
We don't know that.
Yeah, we don't know that for sure. I mean, the Aztecs might have grown because they were an empire that was sort of at its peak when the Spanish showed up. But also...
pretty expansionistic as well.
If you think about those periods, though, they weren't, like, actually... Like, it wasn't like an empire in the way that you would think of it, like, in Europe. Like, the Aztec Empire was a triple alliance of 3 city-states where, over time, one of them, Tenochtitlan, basically became the dominant city of the 3 and had been expanding into other territory. But not so much by, like, conquering. They would go into these towns and basically just, like, we drew borders where we called this is the border here. But what really it was is they just went from city-state to city-state and said, pay us tribute. That's why, like, when the Spanish showed up, so many of these cities, including Tlaxcala, which was, like, one of the big city-states that opposed the Aztecs, why it collapsed so much, because a lot of these places were just basically being bullied by the Aztecs into giving them tribute. And so Tenochtitlan just had to fall, because... And in by the time... And also the Maya did not collapse because of European colonization. The Maya collapsed because of environmental destruction. The people that you would... The closest thing to like a traditional European empire that existed at the time that might have been able to expand it to more areas was actually Peru. It was actually in Peru with the Inca. because the Inca were sort of a new empire that was on the rise, but they were all about like building roads and interconnecting and like integrating with infrastructure all of these different communities into one sort of like imperial network, which is way closer to like what you would need to actually be like an expansionist empire on the size of like what would like start conquering stuff.
Yeah.
That's my answer.
It could happen, but unlikely. I mean, eventually, probably, but
yeah, who knows what would happen at the time. Let's see. My friend has a booklet of Viking sports. Lots of strength testing and tossing a stick that's on fire. Must do while drinking. Tossing a stick that's on fire does feel very Viking. And
it is a drinking game that goes on today.
Oh, this is a thing?
It might just be a thing specifically here for historians, because I live in like Viking Central of Sweden. And historians obviously are into that shit, so it's possible that maybe it's just a drinking game specifically for like 5 people. But yeah, it's a thing. Basically, you have to. The idea is, this is probably not how Vikings did it. You hold a stick. They give you like a horn of mead or something to drink. They put the stick on fire, and you have to drink the drink before the fire like reaches your hand, so you can throw the stick as far as you can. And because if the fire reaches your hand on the stick, then it burns your hand and you're gonna drop the stick and then you lose. It's a wild drinking game. Fun though.
That feels very Viking.
It's actually incredibly fun and very stressful.
What's your capacity to drink booze while also enduring pain and showing a feat of strength?
Yeah, pretty much.
Sunset Invasion when? I love Sunset Invasion. I don't know what everyone's issues was. Apparently they also did competitive sit-ups.
Yeah, that tracks.
How do Canadians combat the spilling over of misinformation targeted to Americans, in particular demographics that are intended to mislead them into advocating for positions against their own interests? Hey, if you have an answer to that one, I would like you to write the Nobel Peace Prize Committee about your finding, because they might have something for you. Honestly, it's probably going to be a big. It's going to require a lot of big changes that change incentives. Like it's going to have to be a change for market incentives on platforms, so that they don't have to. So that there's no way for them to be financially incentivized to do things like keep weird conspiracy theories on their platform because of AdSense or because of ads, and like media literacy, education, that kind of stuff. Like it's going to be, there's a lot of different solutions you have to go to. I'm going to make a video about this on Tristan Show up in the future when I talk about the posting wars, which is the series what I'm calling this series about bots and social media fighting as part of like politics.
The posting wars. It's very good.
The Walmart video mainly concerned itself with production and distribution of tasks. What do we do about the consumer side of it, since we still have currency and elastic demand by consumers? In my mind, like, if we were to have a like fully planned out socialized economy, like a lot of like what Amazon's developments have been about using smart systems to anticipate consumer demand before people even realize it. And so I think that very much like part of the logistic systems that we would be stealing would involve learning how to adapt to different demand. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I don't think it necessarily needs currency either, but that's just me. Hey, thank you for one more super chat from You're Probably Touching Yourself Right Now. What's with this Michael Malice guy calling himself an anarchist? Am I just getting high? Am I just getting that high that comes with gatekeeping? Michael Malice. Let's find out who this is. Michael Malice. Better known as a New York City-based anarchist, columnist, and media personality. Malice is... I honestly, I can't really speak to this because I don't know this person. So I'll say that. But thank you. Alright. We've got time for like one more quick question, and I want to do something.
I was trying to see if I could find something on Michael Malice, but unfortunately, no. He seems to write some right-wing books, potentially. May be getting a wrong impression.
Has there been any historical precedents of candidates dying, and what has happened? No, this hasn't happened in American history yet, so there's not really any precedent. That's sort of the theme of the year, is we're going to be sailing into uncharted waters.
Hasn't there happened? I have a vague memory of a president becoming like winning the election, becoming like making it through to the inauguration, and then like dying of the flu was like 4 days later.
He died 30 days in office. You're talking about President Harrison. Yeah, he gave a 4-hour speech at his inaugural address in January in the cold with no coat on, and he got pneumonia and died. And he so far has been the only president from Indiana, which is the state that Kelly's from.
It's a great legacy from the great state of Indiana.
Yeah. Would Rob Ford count as a cult personality? I think a little bit, yeah, the whole Ford Nation thing. Come on, I want like one fun question.
We'll find something.
We can do this. Okay. God, I'm liking this synthwave background music a lot more than lo-fi hip-hop. It's more intense, though.
Synthwave is nice. Do you always have background music? Because I can hear the music, obviously, because I'm talking to you via Discord. Do you always have music on these streams?
It's true, yeah, I do.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Were Civil War vets treated better after the campaign than the Roman legionary? Yeah, because they were given anything instead of nothing, which is what most Roman legionaries were given. All right, in 2016, a lot of people just took it for granted that Hillary would win, then got badly burned. I'm wondering if some people are like irrationally doing the opposite now to avoid that again, even though Trump's objectively losing. Like the other day, Matt said, this feels like 2016, even though the numbers very much say it's not.
Yeah. I feel like because in 2016, people stopped trusting the polls, like entirely, even though the polls technically were correct. Like the polls were entirely correct, like in regards to popular vote. It's just that no one had really thought about the idea of like winning the popular vote but losing the electoral college. So now everyone's just like, we can't trust anything. The people are just distrustful of how the polling looks.
Yeah, and also I think there's a big thing we point out about how we know, like we've never had an election during a pandemic like this, where we don't know what the results of what's going to happen.
Yeah,
and that
especially since, this like blue shift thing is going to happen. So like election night is probably going to look very grim, and then because of mail-in voting ballots that mostly Democrats are going to do, it's going to like become more and more Democrat. So everything is going to look like hell for a bit, and then I think that hell will like just be extended for like a month as we count mail-in voter ballots.
Yeah, at this point it's looking very likely that if the Republicans do win the election, that it's almost definitely going to be because they've been able to discount votes and like fuck up with the voting. But like if the election is going as normal elections go, Biden will very likely win. But the problem is we're kind of almost guaranteed that we're going to get anything but a normal election. And that's the part that I think is making a lot of people overly cautious.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are basically taking it for granted that the Republicans are going to cheat. Healthy democracy you have there.
I mean, they're actively already getting ready. Like, they're already doing the legwork to try and discount tons and tons of votes.
Yeah.
So, this is already getting ready. Okay, we are at 2 o'clock. We've even gone over a little bit. But, that's fine. I think we'll be okay. I'm going to go and pay Kevin Loken a visit because he's good people. So we're gonna all raid him and pay him a very good welcome. For everybody else, Mia content.
You can go to Mia content on youtube.com/c/miamulder or on watchnebula.com/miamulder or on twitter.com/potatopolitics.
Perfect. And
that's why I stream on Mia Mulder here on Twitch sometimes, oftentimes.
And I'll see everybody else tomorrow at the show. See you later, everybody.